Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 cent Nintendo/gaming video for this week, for the week of July 5th to the 11th. I hope you guys enjoyed or had a safe 4th of July this week, despite, the whole situation going on in the world lately and all that stuff. Hopefully you were able to have a good 4th of July, whether it was spending times with friends and families, though, but doing it in the safest way possible, given the whole what's going on in the world and all that stuff. So anyway, we got about basically 5 stories to cover this week, and we have ones ranging from Nintendo possibly talking to us, giving us an idea of what their next system might be or anything like that. We also are going to be talking about a game that has a history of the developer. I think it was Ys Studios that released this back in 2011. Kingdom of Amalur, if I'm saying the name correctly, I apologize if I'm not. That is going to get a second lease on life and all that stuff. We do also want to talk about what limited run games, as they had made some announcements as well, what games they're going to bring over, including one that I want to focus on the most, and that is the Ys Origin as well. And we're going to be talking about the whole controversy surrounding EVO and Smash. And that EVO got canceled not only because of the whole situation with the coronavirus, but also very serious allegations that have been coming out, particularly seem to be coming out mostly from the Super Smash Bros. Community, or at least those who participate in the Smash Bros. Tournaments, to be exact. Before we get started, we'll do a quick rundown, which is the quick My 2 cent part. This is where stories that they somewhat caught my attention, but not as much of a details as the ones I'm going to be talking about. The first one is the report that we learned that Amazon Game Studio's first game, Cubicle, if I'm saying the name correctly, was released, and it didn't sit very well with a lot of folks, to the point that they had to pull it back and basically put it in closed beta, though, which it just blows my mind on it, that they spend all this money and all that stuff only to push it back in closed beta, which makes you kind of wonder, would it have been wise to put it in closed beta in the first place before you even launch this game out, to make sure you have everything all set up and everything's all fine-tuned and all that stuff? But seeing all that, this is the first game from a game studio from Amazon. It's certainly not a great way to put your foot out the door and all that stuff. We'll see if this game recovers or not, but not a great start for Amazon's game studios, though. We also learned rumors that it's possible that Microsoft could be buying, basically, or at least somewhat of WB Games or Warner Brothers Interactive, that will give them rights to games possibly like ranging from Mortal Kombat to the Batman series and so forth, or the Batman, the Arkham series, to be exact, though. It would be very interesting to see if Microsoft does this. I mean, after all, we've seen Microsoft certainly buy a lot of studios lately, like Obsidian, Ninja Theory, and so forth. So it's going to be very curious to see if this rumor turns out to be true or not in any way. Although supposedly there are other potential buyers. I think EA is certainly one of those other potential buyers as well. We also learned, I'm sure most of you are aware about, when the Crisis trailer came out last week, the response didn't exactly sit very well with everybody, and the developers announced that they would basically delay the game for fine-tuning and polish, that it would not meet its July 23rd launch date. Well, now it seems that the developers at Crytek put out a tweet in regard to the Switch version, stating that the game is still scheduled to come out on July 23rd. So, does make you kind of wonder, exactly, is the Switch version done? Are they just choosing to get this one out because they don't want to put any effort on it? So it's just bizarre in regard to the Switch version of the Crysis remaster, though. If it is scheduled to come out on July 23rd, we'll see how the Switch version plays out. I'm hoping it runs well. I'm hoping that it plays well on the Switch. But still, the fact that this one's coming out first, while the other versions are still being delayed, I would say, to me, it kind of raises some questions in regards of the Switch version, to be exact. We also learned that basically a rumor is going around that Nintendo could be doing a direct, supposedly for a date of July 20th, though. We don't know whether this is, again, it is a rumor, so we don't know if this is true or not. But given the fact that we haven't really heard any announcements of what we were planning to see from them during the fall and all that stuff, and especially with E3 canceled and the whole COVID-19, I'm hoping it's true. I'm hoping we'll get some good clear-cut announcements and all that stuff. But hopefully this one goes better than their Treehouse event that they happened today. Although this video will be up on hopefully on Saturday. We had it on Friday, which covered Paper Mario, the Origami King, which I'm still kind of looking forward to it, even though we've learned some new details, like there won't be any experience points or anything like that. But obviously the big announcement was WayForward's teasing what their game is, and that is Bakugan, Bakugan. That looked like a Pokemon style type of a game or anything like that was announced, and well, let's just say that was their big game WayForward was showing at the Treehouse event, and well, let's just say the response has not been great. And as of right now, the announcement trailer on Nintendo's YouTube channel, let's just say it's getting downvoted big time. So not exactly sitting well with everyone. What kind of impact this will have when the game comes out, that remains to be seen. And last but not least, we are learning a report from Eurogamer and other sites that are reporting that Ubisoft is going to be reforming and making some major changes. This has to do with allegations that are being pointed out that some of the staff members, or some of the folks, let me see if I can get that article very quickly. It reported that basically the top editor boards, following numerous allegations of sexual harassment and assault concerning employees across the company over the past few weeks. Now, if this is true, if these allegations are absolutely true, then I think that Ubisoft needs to do something about it. I think they should fire these employees if these reports are true, that of sexual harassment and sexual assault is being done in the workplace like that. That kind of behavior should never be accepted in the workplace at all in the first place. And if these allegations are true and there's evidence to truly back this up, then I think Ubisoft need to fire these employees right away. All right, so yeah, this is definitely not good for Ubisoft indeed. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with the whole situation with EVO and Smash. I'm sure most of you are aware that this year, 2020, has been tough on a lot of people for many reasons. Mainly, we've seen with the whole situation with COVID-19, aka the coronavirus and all that stuff, which has led to a lot of cancellations of a lot of events that we have seen, or being done differently. Obviously, E3 unfortunately became the victim of this, and so did other events as well. Even San Diego Comic-Con has been impacted by this too. And to hear that EVO was unfortunately canceled, however, because of the coronavirus, isn't, while I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, and while I will admit it's a disappointment for those who are looking forward to it, it wasn't surprising at all. However, the biggest story that came out of it was that not only was it canceled because of this, but because of major allegations, like with Ubisoft, of sexual harassment or sexual assault or inappropriate behavior, particularly with some folks aimed towards minors, to be exact. In an article first posted on an article from GameSpot, excuse me, it reads, quote, EVO 2020, which was to be an online tournament in 2020, has been canceled. Earlier, it was reported that EVO CEO Joey Kohler was being placed on administrative leave following several accusations of sexual misconduct. Following these events, several game brands announced that they were no longer going to participate in the event, including Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Now the event will no longer go ahead, and Kohler is no longer being involved with EVO. In a statement released to Twitter, it has been announced that Tony Cannon is taking over as CEO and that he's prioritizing greater accountability across EVO, both internally and our events. The response on Twitter reads, quote, Over the past 24 hours, in response to serious allegations recently made public on Twitter, we have made the first of a series of important decisions regarding the future of our company. Effective immediately, Joey Kohler, Cuellar, apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, will no longer be involved with EVO in any capability. We are currently working towards his complete separation from the company and have relieved him of all of his responsibility. Going forward, Tony will act as a CEO in this position. He will take a leadership role in prioritizing greater accountability across EVO, both eternally and our events. Progress doesn't happen overnight or without the bravery of those who speak up against misconduct and injustice. We are shocked and saddened by these events, but we are listening and committed to making every change that will be necessary in making EVO a better model for the stronger, safer culture we all seek. As a result, we will be canceling EVO Online and we will work to issue a refund to all players who choose to purchase a badge. We will donate the equivalent of the process as promised to Project Hope. It also said that this announcement follows numerous publishers pulling out of EVO following these allegations, including Bandai Namco, publishers Tekken 7, NetherRealm, Mortal Kombat 11, and Capcom Street Fighter 5. Commentators including James Chen and Maximilian Doyle also declared that they will not be part of EVO 2020 as long as Joey is was still associated with the organization before the cancellation. According to a statement by Twitter user, let's just say he goes by the name Mikey. I have a hard time saying this username. Kohler has engaged in inappropriate and predatory behavior with underage boys during the mid to late 90s. This behavior was apparently repeated several times. This person has addressed the statement in a brief statement on his Twitter account before the event cancellation, in which he seemed to be trying to distance himself from the accusation, saying, quote, "I was young and reckless and did things I'm not proud of," he said, claiming to have grown and matured over the past 20 years. This comes as several high-profile fighting game communities members, particularly those within the Super Smash Bros. Scenes, have been accused of sexual misconduct with minors, which is another thing that had recently popped up. In terms of, according to a report from Digital Trend, it appears to be that there are supposedly rape allegations made during it, though. It reads that, quote, "The competitive Super Smash Bros. World is reeling after a slew of sexual misconduct allegations against some of the game's biggest names flooded social media late Wednesday and early Thursday. Those allegations continue throughout the weekend as the game's biggest stars grapple with allegation of harassment and misconduct. The list of allegations include rape and Penelope, with one accuser saying they have been assaulted beginning at the age of 14. The list of allegations against the top players and commentators is extensive and has prompted players and members of the community shocked." According to a statement that Nintendo released to Digital Trend and other sites as well, the statement reads from Nintendo, quote, "We are deeply disturbed by the allegations raised against certain members of the competitive gaming community. They are absolutely impermissible. We want to make it clear that we condemn all acts of violence, harassment, and exploitation against anyone, and that we stand with the victims." It's worth pointing out that there are reports, at least from a video from Game Explain, that supposedly Nintendo has now, in terms of some of the profiles of some of the Super Smash Brothers fighters or players that the allegations are directed towards, supposedly reported that they have now set those videos to private on YouTube. I would say, these are very serious allegations for a lot of people, for someone to make them. And like I said with the Ubisoft one, if there is evidence that seriously points out that this did happen, though, and although I could be wrong, definitely sounds more likely there is, then yeah, I think it's important that they do distance themselves from these players, from these folks who committed these kind of acts. This is horrible in so many ways. This kind of behavior should never be tolerated anywhere, even in a competitive sports or anything, even competitive sports, whether it's a traditional competitive sports or in esports in general, doesn't matter. This kind of behavior is inappropriate and uncalled for, and honestly, I would not be surprised if we hear possibly a police investigation in some of these allegations, to be exact. I mean, it's horrible what happened to these people and how they were treated by some of these folks. Even some players or even some fans looked up to some of these guys, and to hear this, that's got to be devastating, though. I will say the Smash community is going to have to somewhat rebuild themselves. Same with EVO as well, to earn a lot of people's trust, especially after hearing a lot of these allegations. And it's going to be really interesting to see if they do something like a EVO or a Smash competition in 2021 or beyond, especially with these kinds of allegations that happen, though. So overall, I mean, these are very serious allegations to be made, though. And if the evidence is there, like I said, I do think action should be taken, though. I'm glad, supposedly they are removing the head of EVO, which I think is good. And I do think, and I would not, or excuse me, I would not be surprised if I hear legal actions against some of these folks, possibly even a criminal investigation in a way. I mean, it's very shocking from what you hear and very disturbing, though. And this kind of behavior should never be tolerated, no matter in any form or any way, no matter if it's a traditional competitive sport or a esports competition. This is unacceptable. Let's be honest, it is really, truly disgusting and downright unacceptable. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with the announcement of Ys Origins, and that is coming to the Nintendo Switch. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the announcement that was recently made. For those who are not familiar with it, it's the announcement that Ys Origins, originally released for the PS4 and I believe the PS Vita, I think back in 2017, is coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now, we've seen, so far, we've seen only one Ys game come over to the Nintendo Switch. I think it's Lament of Dana. Again, I apologize if I'm not saying the name correctly, though. And it was a fun game and all that stuff. But I've also played other entries before. Origins as well, as I mentioned. I played that on the PS4 when that came out. And I remember playing one that came out in 2005 for the PlayStation 2. I mean, it was a fun action RPG, and it's a series I'm slowly starting to get into as well. So to hear the fact that they're bringing this one over to the Nintendo Switch is certainly music to my ears. It's also worth pointing out this was, I believe, announced during Limited Run Games announcement and all that stuff. But anyway, in an article from Destructoid, it reads that, quote, RPG Ys Origin is coming to the Nintendo Switch later in 2020. The news was announced by publisher Dotemu, D-O-T-E-M-U. It's worth pointing out these are the guys that handle the awesome and excellent Streets of Rage 4. Very fun beat 'em up game. I definitely recommend it if you're a fan of like old school beat 'em up games back in the days of, games like Streets of Rage, Final Fight, or Double Dragon. It's worth getting. Doesn't matter what your main system of choice is, it's definitely worth playing, though. At least from my view, it is, though. Anyway, continuing on, who's also took the time to reveal not one, but 2 physical editions from boutique retailer Limited Run Games. Originally released on, on the PC way back in 2006, Ys Origins would eventually make the jump to the PS4, PS Vita, and Xbox One a little over a decade later with additional contents and options. While there's no doubt that the wait has been a long one, Ys Origin is a solid entry in the legendary franchise and will no doubt feel right at home on the Switch platform, prefer for lengthy commutes and late night adventuring, though. Ys Origin will will be made available in both standards and collector's editions formats from limited run games. The former will simply consist of a box hard copy of the game for Switch, while the latter also includes a poster, a soundtrack CD, and an art book of Ys Origin's lavish visuals, all housed in a special collector's box. Pre-orders will open tomorrow on July 8th, which was, I believe, on a Thursday, though, for North America customers. A separate agent will handle European orders at a later date. Ys Origins launches on Nintendo Switch late in 2020. It's also available now for the PS4, PC, and Xbox One. So this is definitely one I am happy that they are bringing over. I thought the game on the PS4 was fun indeed, and I'm definitely looking forward to playing this on the Switch. Especially since, the whole idea with the Switch is, you can play at home and bring with you on the go and so forth. Not to mention, it's something for Switch owners that could keep us occupied until the next Ys entry, which is supposedly Smash.to on Norix, which will be coming out next year, which I believe that will be out along with the PS4 and I think the PC version. So overall, great that they're bringing this one over. Great that the publisher that's handling it is also the same one that gave us the excellent Streets of Rage 4, indeed. And this is something that probably keep us occupied until the next entry of the Ys, which will be out next year and all that stuff. So, as a fan of someone who likes, action RPGs and so forth, this is definitely one I'm going to be keeping an eye out. And I do want to point out I actually pre-ordered mine though, the regular edition. I'm not spending money on the collector's edition. There are those who want to, fine, that's your decision, all that stuff. I'll just get the regular edition. But either way, if you like action RPGs or are fans of the Ys series though, this is one you should probably keep an eye out for. If you already own it on another system, Xbox One, Vita, or PS4, then I don't see any reason to pick this up unless you like the idea of playing on the Switch, which could be played at home or on the go or however you want to see it. But like I said, overall, I'm glad we're getting another entry of the Ys series coming over to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get to part 3. And this one has to do with the announcements that Limited Run Games has made in terms of what games they'll be putting out that will be available for people who are considering getting the physical version of some of these games. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My True Set video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at some announcements that Limited Run Games have made. Now, for Nintendo Switch owners, that name should ring a bell for a lot of people because they're the ones that handle a lot of the games that bring over the physical versions of a lot of the games, like say we learned about Blaster Master 1 and 2 and so forth. But although there are some people who are not happy with limited run games in terms of the way they've handled certain things and so forth. Although I have seen a lot of their games have popped up in Best Buy before. But anyway, this week they did an announcement trailer, and they made an announcement of a couple of games or shall I say a good long list of games that they will be bringing over, and when those pre-orders will start. Now, I already mentioned one of the games that they mentioned, and one of them was Ys Origin.to. But there were a couple of them that they announced during their announcement trailer, but they also posted up a blog that I'm reading from it right now. Some of the announcements we do have that are to be announced at this moment, like Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 will be getting a physical version for the Switch and PS4, although an announcement has not been made yet. Castlevania Anniversary Collection, which will be out third quarter 2020. Mark of the Wolf for the PS4 will be out July 2020, though. Katana Zero, a fun game indeed that was released last year, will be out November 2020 as a physical version, though. Mega Dimension Neptuna, Neptunia, VII. Again, I can't read Roman numerals. A Switch game will be July 28th. Mighty Gunvolt Burst for the Switch and PS4 will be August 28th, though. My Friend Pedro for the PS4, that's getting a physical version, although they haven't announced that one yet. That's hasn't announced the release date for that one yet. They announced even Way Forward has some games, like more River City Girls. They don't have enough details on that one, but some of their games are getting not only another version on the Switch, but even the Game Boy Color. Some of the games are Shantae, the original one, will be getting not only a physical Switch version, but a physical Game Boy Color version, including its sequel, Risky Revenge. They even have the Mummy Demastered will be getting a physical version. I think pre-orders will start July 31st, though, which is kind of amazing considering that one got a better response than 2017 reboot of The Mummy starring Tom Cruise, which was supposed to start the whole dark universe, but that didn't go very well, to be exact. Extreme Sports, in fact, will be getting a Switch and Game Boy Color version, a physical version that I believe will be October 2020th. And games like Samurai Jack Battle Through Time, Switch, PS4 to be announced, though, but they're planning to do that one. I would say out of the ones that caught my attention the most, I would say based on this list and what they may have announced at the trailer, was Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. The first one was a fun game, so I'll look forward to that one, though. The Castlevania Anniversary Collection, though. The Granda, Grandia HD Collection for the Switch, which they'll start pre-orders August, I believe, or that will come out August 2020, August 7th, 2020. That one is definitely on my list, though. The Shantae ones, though, the Mummy Demaster, of course, Ys Origins, and Extreme Sports. So there are a couple of them, though, that definitely have caught my attention, though. Now, some people, some like limited run games, others don't. Some people have issues with them, though. But still, it's nice that some of these games that I would have liked to see a physical version is finally going to get a physical version. Whether it's worth the money to pre-order them or not, it's going to be based on your preference and taste. But overall, pretty good announcements. Some of the games I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a physical version of, though. Particularly, Grandida. Grandia, apologize if I'm not saying that name correctly and all that stuff. So basically, overall I will say pretty good list, and I'm sure there are going to be some games on that list that some people may consider pre-ordering, to be exact, from limited run games. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 4, and this one has to do with Kingdom of Amalur, Amalur. Apologize, I'm not saying that name correctly. And the fact that this one is getting a new lease on life. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 4 of our My 2 Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the surprise announcement that Kingdom of Amalur, A-M-A-L-U-R, Reckoning, now called Re-Reckoning, though, is getting a new lease on life, though. So for those who may have not heard of this game came out, I think it was either in 2011 or 2012, released on the PS3 and Xbox 360. It was an action RPG created by 3A Studios, though, which was headed by former Major League Baseball player Kurt Schilling. I believe that's his name, or not, or anything like that. The game did get good reviews and all that stuff, but it didn't sell as well as many people have hoped for, and that led to the studio closing down and all that stuff, with supposedly a lot of legal and financial issues ranging from a sort of taking advantage of a deal that the state of Rhode Island ran, to Kurt Schilling really filing for like bankruptcy and really losing a whole lot of money on this and all that stuff. Even reports about how some of these employees were basically homeless after this game came out. So it really caused a lot of issues and so forth. So it was very interesting in 2018 when THQ Nordic was sort of requiring certain licenses, ranging from re-requiring some of the licenses they once owned before they went bankrupt, though, to buying up some new ones, such as basically getting the rights of Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning as well. So this week, though, we learned that the game is actually coming out, and it will be coming. And not only do we have a release date, though, but we also hear reports that they are now working on basically a new DLC for it, though. In an article from GameSpot, it reads that, quote, Kingdom of Amalur Re-Reckoning release date and new expansion announced. Kingdom of Amalur Reckoning is getting a remastered version, and publisher THQ Nordic has announced a release date and some new details about the so-called Re-Reckoning. It's coming on September 8th, 2020 to PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and a new expansion is coming next year. The release date announcement came alongside a trailer for the Fatesworn expansion coming in 2021. The trailer doesn't shed much details on the new content, simply showing a hero fighting off a horde of monsters. THQ Nordic announced the variety purchase options for Re-Reckoning. The standard edition will be $40 or 35 euros, while the Fate edition that includes an upcoming expansion will be $55 and 48 euros. There's no word yet on the Fate expansion, there's no word on what the Fate expansion will cost as a standalone purchase. You can also pick up the collector's edition for $110, and I think it's 100 euros. That includes an ALYN Shin SHIR figure, keychain, 5-piece of artwork, the soundtrack from Grant Kirkhope, and a collector's box. THQ Nordic, they just released a trailer for the collector's edition, all that stuff. So it's very nice to see that this game is going to get another lease on life, and I think that's definitely good, though. It was a fun game like I said before, it was a fun game when it came out on the PS3 and the 360. I had the PS3 version, though, and so it's very good that we're seeing this title get another shot, though. Hopefully this time around, this title will have a better success than it did when it originally came out. When it came out originally back in 2011 and 2012. And although I am glad the game is getting a re-release, especially on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC as well, it would have been nice, I don't know if this was technically possible or not though, but it would have been nice if they also had brought it to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe that's something they'll consider at some point down the road. Maybe it's still possible. Who knows? I know a lot of people like to make the argument that no, ports should not come over. Look at the Outer Worlds, for example, which I still think that's a dumb argument to make. I don't think the Outer Worlds is as bad as some people make it claim it is on the Nintendo Switch. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I don't think it's as... I'm not saying it's as awful as it is, and I disagree with that argument about ports. So, I mean, like I said, but anyway, going back... it would have been nice if they had brought this over to the Nintendo Switch. Maybe one day they will, but who knows. But in either case, overall, it's very nice that this game is getting another chance. Here's to hoping this time around it does well this time than it did back on the PS3 and Xbox 360 era. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to our fifth and final part. And this one has to do with comments Nintendo has recently made in regards of what their next system might be. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fifth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, I do want to talk about Nintendo and a comment they recently made in regards of the future of like the Nintendo Switch, or most particularly their next system. Now, Since 2017, though, the Nintendo Switch has been doing very well for Nintendo. The Nintendo certainly has bounced back from the days of the Wii U era, where it was certainly not doing very well for them and all that stuff. And the whole concept of the console and handheld hybrid has certainly been a click for a lot of people. Currently, right now, the system, I believe last time I checked, it sold around 55 million units, and it could maybe, although we'll have to wait and see, but it looks like it could reach the 100 million units as well. I mean, yes, the system has its fair share of criticisms, but there's no denying it that it has been very, very successful. And during the 80th shareholders meeting, though, questions was asked, especially about their next system, and based on the comment they made, though, it sounds as though they're going to stick with the concept that the Switch is doing right now, and so forth. So, in an article posted on Destructoid, it reads, quote, Nintendo has been riding high with the Switch these past few years and still very much in demand, especially given the current stock issue. Speaking to investors in a recent shareholder meeting, the 80th annual meeting actually, Nintendo's presidents once again expectedly sung the praise of the Switch, but alongside of senior executive officer who further hint that the next console for Nintendo could continue the portable TV legacy of the system. The Nintendo president explained that that momentum for the console is still increasing due to the hybrid nature of the system, and that the company wants to extend the life cycle of it as a result. A senior executive officer then reiterated the strength of the hybrid design, but also stated, quote, we've seen scenes on social media of children and their families sitting around a game console to play, which gives us a renewed sense of value of our dedicated video game platform. We will utilize these experience in careful considering the form of our future game console will take. He indirectly also hinted that the TV-based consoles are here to stay for Nintendo, at least for the next generation. In another portion of the Q&A, Miyamoto stressed that Nintendo has never tried to compete on game consoles' performance, so don't expect their philosophy to dramatically shift if that does end up happening. He explained that Nintendo is still a focus at the company as the idea of having direct interface with the player, although this could change at a whim of a different leadership. Nintendo is experimenting with the concept like gacha mobile games after all. For now, it seems Nintendo is going to be very much Nintendo, at least for another 10 years. So it basically, if we were to take away what they said during the shareholders meeting, for what I'm reading, if I'm reading this correctly, and what others have said, it sounds as though that the console handheld hybrid, the thing that started with the Switch, it doesn't seem like that design is going away. And honestly, I kind of agree with that, because I really think it would be extremely difficult for Nintendo to go back to the days of having a console and a handheld, like having like a Wii and the DS, or the NES and the Game Boy, or the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS. I just don't see them doing something like that. I think they're going to stick with the Switch design, and I've probably said this before, but I do think they're going to stick with that Switch design for a long time. As far as how powerful the next one will be, well, it's going to be very interesting to see what direction it's going to go in terms of power. And although I may have said this before, I'll probably say this again. If I had to take a guess what the next Switch, or if they're calling it a Switch or Switch.to or something like that, or their next generation console or something like that, given their partnership with NVIDIA that's supposedly, barring anything major happening, lasting for about 2 decades, I would say that I would say more than likely, I could see it more powerful than the current system of Switches right now. I could see it being probably more powerful than the base PS4 or the base Xbox One. But as far as being powerful as, say, like what the PS5 or the upcoming Xbox Series X. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Nintendo is going to aim for that direction, but I could definitely see it more powerful than the current Switch and the current PS4. I mean, or the base PS4 or the base Xbox One. And given how they have a huge selection of chips from NVIDIA to choose from, though, perhaps maybe their next system, whether they call it a Switch 2 or something else, maybe this time around they can probably look for something, a more powerful chip from the NVIDIA set, maybe something that does pack a bit more of a punch. It could also, or probably do something like actually create a custom-made chip designed for their next system that utilizes certain elements from their other chipset, or they could go for something like, say, like the Tegra X1X that's being used, that NVIDIA is using for their new NVIDIA Shield, though. So either way, it doesn't surprise me that they're thinking about their next system, and obviously, given how well the Switch has sold for them, it doesn't surprise me that they're going to utilize some of those ideas they have for the Switch for their next system. As for what the next system is called, although it's way too early to tell, I think they're still going to stick with the Switch name. I personally think they're going to stick with that name for a while. I don't think they're going to drop it. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something like, say, an actual like Switch 2 or something like that. It's possible it could change or anything like that, but who knows. But in either case, though, it doesn't surprise me that given the success of the Switch, they're going to take some of those ideas to use it for their next system. One thing I do think is important that for their next system is, regardless of what direction they go, they do have to make sure that engines like Unreal Engine 5 are properly utilized for that system. That and engines like Unity or Crytek or any other engines out there, though. I know Switch supports Unreal Engine 4. I know there are some games that use the property, some games have not, and all that stuff. And supposedly, we've been hearing that, yes, games that run on Unreal Engine 5 could probably run on Switch, although expect some of the bells and whistles to not be there or anything like that. But in either way, regardless of what direction they go with their next system, it has to be able to run games that either run on games like Unity, Unreal Engine 5, or the Crytek engine, whatever the case may be. It has to be able to run these engines properly and all that stuff. So overall, it doesn't really surprise me that Nintendo is probably going to stick with at least how I'm reading it, the Switch design for a while, especially coming forward, especially when they start eventually announcing their next system, whenever that is. Who knows, though? Some people believe 2021 or 2022 to be exact, but we'll have to wait and see. But for now, though, obviously Nintendo's happy with the Nintendo Switch, and it doesn't surprise me that they're going to take some of the concept or experience they had with the Switch and try to utilize it for their next system. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the whole scandal evolving with EVO and the Smash? With Smash Brothers in general, though. Are you shocked about these scandals or what's been going on with some of these players, though? Are you outraged? Are you angry? Are you not shocked at all? Do you think EVO did the right thing letting their CEO go? Do you think that we could see legal actions against some of these players over what they did and all that stuff? What are your thoughts about Ys Origin coming to the Nintendo Switch? Are you pleased that they announced this for the Nintendo Switch? Are you looking forward to getting the Switch version in any way? Or are you happy with the version you have, whether it's on Xbox One, PC, PS4, or PlayStation Vita? What are your thoughts about the announcement of the games that Limited Run are going to be bringing over and all that stuff? Are some of these games you're looking forward to pre-ordering in any way? Or you not have no plans to get the physical version from Limited Run Games at all? What are your thoughts about Kingdom of Amalur, if I'm saying the name correctly, getting a second lease on life? Are you happy that this game is being brought back to life, though? Are you looking forward to picking up this game when it comes out on September 8th? And if so, which version are you getting? Are you going to plan to get the PS4, Xbox One, or the PC version? And what are your thoughts about the comments about what Nintendo has made in regards of what about going forward, especially with their next system? Do you think that they should do something completely different from the Nintendo Switch? Or do you think that it's probably best to stick with the Switch designs, considering how well that has done and all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!